Hi, and welcome back to Just Ask the Question. I am your host, Brian Karam. With me to discuss the news of the day, I'm going to say it, former city editor, current Virginia state senator, Danica Rome. Danica, God bless you, and good friend, too. It's always good to see you.
Hi, my former boss. I hope you are doing well.
Do not worry, you will not be
See,
penalized if
when
you
I
say
when I
something.
got when I got on 2 minutes late, I thought you were going to say, "Where's my story?"
Yes. Hey, we're on deadline. Now, I've been wanting to talk to you since the elections.
Yeah.
A couple of things that have gone on, particularly in Virginia. Abigail Spanberger winning the governorship was, to many people, a shock, but not to you.
No, no, her winning. I don't know who would have been shocked for Abigail winning. I mean, yeah, it's like, okay, if you
Most
were
of the
in
Republicans.
okay, so let's address that, right? So if you were looking at news based on neutral, dispassionate, third-party observation with a sense of journalistic mission that has gone through an editorial process and has a sense of journalistic mission, all of that sort of
I
stuff,
trained you well, my dear.
uh-huh, you had no illusions about where this race was, like from January on, that that Abigail was in the driver's seat, and the question was going to be by what margin, right? If you were in the rabbit hole and you were siloed in right wing media and only right wing media, and you did not
Correct.
consume actual news from neutral, dispassionate, third party observation that goes through an editorial process and has a sense of journalistic mission, if you did not go through that, then you thought the mainstream media polls were wrong, all this other stuff was wrong, and no, it's 2 points, it's margin of error. I mean, I saw a Trafalgar poll that said they were polling a third party candidate who was not on the ballot and who had endorsed Abigail Spanberger and had not even been running as a write-in campaign. She had raised a couple $100s, like a few $100s, had a very small social media presence, and did not qualify for the ballot. The right wing polls were showing her polling in late October as high as 5%. As of
And
right
ended up
now,
with 0.2%, right?
yes, all write-ins combined, including Mickey Mouse, including like all the standards, right, that you see for
Right.
write-ins. Although I do hope that Vermin Supreme got a write-in just because he's really funny. Like that's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, hey, look, his platform. I mean, it's an all-American platform, free pony for every person, and he wears a boot on his head. I mean, just like,
You got to like that.
that's, I mean, how do you not, right? So that's pretty Andy Warhol performance art. So anyway, like, I look at that and I'm just like, okay, um, this is this is BS. And I will see this happen throughout the year where these right wing affiliated polls, one after the next, could be tropical one day, coefficient another day, another. It was almost like they were pushing a narrative. It was almost like they
What?
were trying to convince people of something that wasn't reality.
Yeah.
When I mean, like, later today, we're recording right now, Friday morning, November 7th. Oh, by the way, happy 8th anniversary to my first election as of today. Woo, that's fun.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. And then my Senate election was 2 years ago today, so that's also neat. So I look at this and I go, this is what happens when people not only silo themselves off, but they are so allergic to a worldview, to news, to information that could
Facts.
contradict their worldview. And they were absolutely dead set on, as long as all we do is talk about anti trans stuff this entire year, boys using girls' bathrooms, all this sort of stuff the whole time, the
We'll get to
whole
that.
year. And they were put millions and millions of dollars behind it. Well, Donald Trump's most successful ad last year said Kamala is for they, them, Trump is for you. So obviously it's going to work. First off, Donald Trump had $250 million in television advertising that was going into his messaging with all of this sort of stuff. And the last time I checked, the Republicans in Virginia weren't putting up $250 million in
Anywhere.
advertising for anything. So
Yeah.
next thing here is in Abigail's case, people would say these are actual quotes that were coming from whether it was reporters, whether it was pundits, whatever. They would say she's dull, not inspiring, she's vanilla, she's this. She was on message. She was disciplined. She was very, very disciplined to a point where it's like if you were more progressive or you're like more activist, it could be really frustrating. She had one job to do as a candidate, one job, win an election. Everything else after that is a matter of
Right.
noise. Her job was to win the
Been in
election.
the election.
And winning the election for her looked like staying on message, staying disciplined. And once the federal firings began this year, all the way from the time Doge came into
Yeah.
effect, that's where Abigail, I felt like she found her message. I felt like at that point, because this is the untold story of this campaign. She's a 3-time former Fed.
Yeah.
3 time. She was a federal law enforcement through the Postal Service. She was ex-CIA, 3-term member of Congress. 3 times she's been a federal worker. She knows how federal workers talk, think, and what's and all the peculiarities with it. She understands what federal worker families go through. She gets it.
One of her quotes that I really loved was, "We need a governor who will recognize the hardship of this moment." And she
Yeah.
came out with, she won by 15%, 1,900,000, she almost
Right.
500,000
But
votes
the
more.
votes are still coming in today. Today at noon, they'll be counting what are called post-election absentee mail-in ballots. And some people
Right.
might think, people voting after election day. No, these are
No.
mail-in ballots that were postmarked by Tuesday, and they had until Friday at noon to arrive. Meanwhile, the provisional ballots that were cast on Tuesday, these are in large part, not exclusively, but large part, same day voter registration. And for the people who are really concerned about election integrity, right? There is no more election integrity vote than a provisional ballot because at this point, this ballot has had to be verified like all hell.
Right,
Where
right.
like in real time, like they are really going into details, making sure that like your citizenship is verified, your residency is verified, you match
Not
you're over
according to
18, you match the criteria, or you don't have prior outstanding felonies, or you haven't had a pardon from the governor or whatever. I mean, like just it's a whole thing, right? So those are also being counted this weekend. By the time all the ballots are counted, said and done, she'll win 15, 16-point margin. It'll be the largest margin from a Democrat since the 1960s. Only the second time in the modern era of Virginia politics that a Democratic nominee for governor has won by double digits. The last one was Gerald Baliles, who won by a little more than 10 points in 1985. By the way, I was one.
Don't get me started, young lady. Don't get me
I
started.
know.
So here's where I want to go with that.
Yeah,
All of those numbers aside, do you think this portends anything for the national elections in
absolutely it
2026?
does. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. All right, so just to begin with, um this is the shot in the arm that the Democratic Party has been waiting for the last 10 months. I mean, just like since the start of this year. That's the first thing, is enthusiasm, because it wasn't just here. It was New Jersey. It was,
Right.
Prop 50 winning by a larger margin than Kamala did. It was, in California.
Yeah.
It's, ballot initiatives in Colorado that are progressive, like feeding hungry kids, stuff I work on, passing where they were, taxing the rich in order to pay for school meals for hungry kids. That passed with a healthy margin. There's a lot of even like local offices across the country, and because of that, the Trump administration is assigning blame right now. In Virginia, they're having the MAGA, just like online sphere pushing this narrative, whether they're paid influencers or whether
And what's the
they're
narrative?
right. That's Glenn Youngkin destroyed the Republican Party of Virginia. This is the Virginia Republicans' fault. They need a clean house. This is they ruined this, and they didn't run as a strong enough MAGA candidate. Same sort of thing that they said about Ed Gillespie in 2017, by the way.
Right.
They will deflect anything, so that they don't get assigned responsibility for it. Meanwhile, the Republicans in Virginia are like, we had a shutdown. It was a shutdown the whole time. See, that's why we lost. It was because of a shutdown. And I just want to be like, well, I'm remembering that Simpsons quote where they're like, well, for all of you, you're both winners, but in a more accurate way, Barney is the winner, right? So I'm just like, well, you're both lost. And in a more accurate way, you both lost. like
Well,
like
the other narrative that you hear is that it's
yeah.
disproportionate. This is from the Republicans. It's disproportionate in Virginia because all the money that was spent there. Of course, they bought the election, and that the Republicans are really much stronger.
Oh, let's address this load of BS. The party where Elon Musk dumped hundreds of millions of dollars from himself into his America PAC to do all this sort of stuff. Elon Musk, who bankrolled the Republican endorsed candidate for Supreme Court in Wisconsin earlier this year, who lost. That's the party that's complaining that the Democrats had more money than us.
Yeah, well, okay. Thank you for that.
Yet Virginia is a state where we have unlimited catch contributions. Elon, all he had to do was write one check. He could have, and like everything changes, right? And then like you would have had just like a bonanza of spending sprees. They made a choice not to invest in Virginia. That was a choice by a billionaire president and Donald Trump, by his advisors and all the people around them, because deep inside their lizard brain here, and I'm not saying they're lizard people, I'm just saying back way
Yes,
back.
let's not go to
It's just fun.
conspiracies. That's
Yeah, let's
I've
just
already
go into
heard that
this.
one.
I know. That's that's some MTG stuff right there. But what I'm saying is way back in their minds, they knew what the numbers were.
Yeah,
Because
I think that's true.
here's the thing, they put out the right wing spin and everything, but they get data. They had to have actionable data that they make strategic assumptions on. And they said, Virginia's screwed. We don't have a chance. They put their money and their effort into the New Jersey basket, and then they lost by double digits there as well. And by the way, they also lost state legislative seats in New Jersey, and they lost state legislative. And here's the next spin that they have. Well, these were blue states, mirroring exactly what Sean Hannity said in 2017. These are blue states. Then please explain the 3 seats that you lost in Mississippi.
Yeah, there you go. Well,
The
let me ask
Democrats
you
broke
this.
the supermajority.
The what do you think? What's your working relationship with Spanberger? What do you think is on the horizon? She politicked as and campaigned as a centrist, and there was a popular pragmatic centrist theme to what she said. How do you get along with her, and what do you think you can
Oh, I
expect?
mean, I get along with her, great. So, I'm the executive director of Emerge Virginia. My job is to train Democratic women run for office. I went through the Emerge boot camp in 2017, the exact same time she was going through the Emerge signature program. Our classes actually overlapped for one day that year, in February 2017. And I mean, her mom, Eileen Davis, is on my cabinet for Emerge. And Eileen herself went through Emerge in 2014, the inaugural class for Emerge Virginia. So I've gotten to know Abigail, fairly well over, since 2018. But like when I campaigned for her down in Henrico right before the election that year. And here's what people need to understand with this. The Republicans kept attacking her for anti-trans stuff and everything. She had a 100% voting record all 3 terms she was in office from the Human Rights Campaign on their scorecard. She was a co-patron of both the Equal Rights Amendment, which is tattooed on my arm, and as well as the Equality Act. And she was one of only 2 Virginia Democrats who voted against the National Defense Authorization Act in December of last year, when it took away healthcare coverage for trans kids in military families by restricting their TRICARE coverage. And when she cast that vote, I talked to her that night and all, and private conversation, I'll leave it what it is. But politics wasn't on her mind at all with it, at all. She was trying to do the right thing for people. And for Abigail in particular, you saw over and over again with her message discipline, it wasn't about not wanting to answer uncomfortable questions. It was about making sure that issue number one of the economy, of affordability, people's jobs, and their sense of security, that she was addressing that every single day, day after day after day after day. And what the Republicans tried to do to her is make her into a terrifying villain. She's not.
Well,
This mom of three is not.
one of the things they also tried to do, her opponents, Earl Sanders.
Earl Sears. Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry, Sears. I don't. Earl Sears. She accused Spanberger of backing policies on transgender rights that she said were a threat to girls' safety in school bathrooms and locker rooms. The quote was, "Love is not having my daughter having to be forced to undress in a locker room with a man. That's not love. Love is making sure that our girl children have opportunities in sports and are not forced to play against biological males." How big of an issue is this in Virginia? I don't understand.
Okay, Brian.
Give it to me, Danica.
When I left your employment so that I could run against the self-described chief homophobe of Virginia, and on the day that I launched my campaign, January 3rd, 2017, he introduced HB 1612, the bathroom bill. The same bill to forcibly out trans kids was also included in that. And he lost to the first out-and-seated transgender state legislator in American history.
Who would that be?
I don't. Who knows?
Could it be you, Danica?
Guilty. Oh my God. So, if I said in several interviews this year, we've seen this. In my last campaign in 2023, the Republicans sent 41 negative mailers against me, let alone the TV ads and everything else. And a majority of them were transphobic one way or the other. They've tried this. They've tried this real hard, real good.
It doesn't work.
They've lost to me 4 times. If losing to me 4 times didn't get the message through to them. And they were like, Brian, you're the one who told me this when a certain congressional candidate we covered in 2016 lost. The line that you said was, I spent 15 million, should have been 20.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. I remember.
That's how they thought this year. If we only spend a few more million of dollars, that'll get the Republican base out, because this issue animates them like no other issue. The economy doesn't animate them like this does. Well, apparently not, because you just got bushwhacked by 15 points. You lost 13 members from the House Republican caucus, by the way. You've lost almost the entirety of Interstate 95 in Virginia. And by the way, don't just give me, oh, well, it was Northern Virginia, and so that's where all this came from. You lost in Chesterfield. You lost Spotsylvania County for the first time in decades. You lost Spotsy.
Well,
which is Caroline County. You lost.
People who don't know that county is so red they still think the Confederacy won. So that's how red that county is.
To be clear, in that Spotsylvania County, Caroline County House of Delegates district, Nicole Cole, who I trained, she's a Black woman who was on the Spotsylvania County School Board, had flipped a seat to get on there, although we don't school board members are endorsed as opposed to nominated by candidates. But she defeated the dean of the House of Delegates. His license plate is the number 1 out of 100 members. Okay, he has been in office since I think 1990, if I remember correctly. That's who she beat. You don't get to claim this is just Northern Virginia doing blah, 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 when the dean of the House of Delegates loses to a Black woman from the school board in Spotsylvania, who I trained, by the way, through Emerge.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, but the thing that I go back to, and I don't want to delve into this if it makes you uncomfortable, but talking about the trans issue. To me,
I'm uncomfortable, Brian. No one's ever
yeah,
asked me about this before. I
yeah,
don't
no
want
one's
to deal
ever
with it.
asked you that. As my city editor, you know damn well uncomfortable is where we place politicians. But here's the truth of the matter. Um, you won all that anti-trans stuff that came against you in your first race. You won
Yeah,
on a meat and potatoes issue, transportation.
which is so weird for my vegan diet, but yes.
Yeah, but the point is, yeah, but the point is, I think that proved that people are not nearly as homophobic, transphobic as they would let on. I interviewed people who there was a family, there was a woman who voted for you, and then she
Right.
didn't know, but her husband had voted for you, and both of them were afraid to tell each other that they had voted for you because they were so right wing. But I remember them very well, and I remember the issues. I think the point being, and I wonder if the Democrats will learn this at a national level, that it is those meat and potato issues, the
Right.
economy, how you're doing transportation, your commute, and that's one of the things that instead of being force fed a diet of woke, which is what drives a lot of people crazy. I mean, the independents and the right side of the aisle that will vote for a Democrat, but when they're preached to the woke all the time instead of the meat and potato issues, they go and vote. That's why they
So
voted for Donnie.
here's what, keep in mind, my district splits a ticket like all hell. Like it really, like I hear this national narrative all the time of, oh, split ticket voters don't exist anymore. Come to Western Prince William County. I will show you the split ticket. Are you
Yeah,
kidding me? Like I, okay. Currently, we just won, a Democratic candidate just won the Gainesville District Supervisor special election on Tuesday. First time in decades that seat will be Democratic. Okay, and this is lots of rural area in my district. Data center sprawl is the issue, and it's also in the Manassas part heavily immigrant community, heavily Latino community, where people are really, really concerned about their family and their friends and their colleagues and their neighbors being abducted right now. Like this is real deal stuff where you've got severe issues of poverty, you've got a lot of issues that come up with this, and they turned out to vote. Now that's my base when I'm on the ballot. Thank God I wasn't up this time because another race that like I ran 4 battleground races in 6 years. I needed a break. I mean, so 4-year term, bless. But what I'm trying to get at here is for a lot of people, what we see is the idea in messaging. Danica, this is an 80-20 issue when we talk about trans girls being able to compete on girl sports teams. When we talk about bathroom issues, or blah, blah, blah. Number one, it's what's the intensity level of it? How much do people care? Number two, it's how you actually go about it. If you're talking about just like someone like me, who everyone in the community knows, I'm using the restroom, no one ever stops or accosts me or anything when I use the freaking bathroom. It's just, it's not on mine. What they're more concerned about is, hey, is someone going to take advantage of this? Or, you know, if there's a bad person, are they just going to get away with doing bad behavior and stuff? And to which I'm like, anyone who breaks the law in a facility needs to be incarcerated. No, no, that's
right.
not okay. No, I'm not like that's sort of stuff we're talking about when on the sports
Well, yeah,
issue.
thank you. All
We've
right,
had a
let me hit that. Let me hit
yeah,
that nail on the head. When you're talking about the issue of transgender people in restrooms, you're not really talking about transgender people in restrooms. Everything that they describe is what would normally be criminal activity. If you went into a gender specific restroom and you attack someone, that's a violation of the law. You
yes,
have to
yeah.
make a
Or if
special
you
law for
fine,
transgender
if you
people.
expose yourself to other people,
Yeah,
that's you go to jail.
yeah,
like that's how that goes, right? And so it's
yeah.
just like, and by the way, just speaking as a trans woman, the last thing I want to do in the restroom is to like remind people of why my body might be different from anyone else, right? I mean, just
Right.
like no matter where I was in my transition, you know, like I've been, you know, on HRT and everything and blah 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 the whole rest of my life, like 12 years in at that point, you're like, I'm fine. At the same time, I look at this and I go like the behavior that they try to associate is Willie Horton stuff. This is what they're doing, is they're trying to find the worst person and paint the entire community with this of be afraid of this person, be afraid of people like this, be afraid of this group. Well, the same people who did that just ran the same campaign using a lot Islamophobia against Ghazala Hashmi, who I served with in the state Senate and who is now the first Muslim woman to ever be elected statewide in the country. I mean, so she's going to be our next lieutenant governor. She's going to be the
Yeah.
president of the Senate, who I'm going to see standing at the dais every day that the General Assembly's in session. Like, I look at this now and I'm like, if the Republican Party keeps doing what it's done since Nixon and beyond, which is we have to single out and stigmatize our voters in order to win other voters, then in states like Virginia, in states like New Jersey, that Donald Trump did not carry in the first place, by the way. Oh, but look how well he performed. He came within 6 points in Virginia. He came within 5 points in New Jersey. They just lost by double digits this week.
Yeah.
like, no. Just stop this.
But what are the Democrats doing wrong?
Oh, Brian, that's a whole nother podcast, friend.
Give me the 5-minute version.
Do you want my Lutheran list where I'm going to pound it on a door?
Well, all right. Here's where I'll start.
Here, Brian. Let me give you. I'm going to give you just a very basic thing.
Go for it.
Very, very basic. I want us to have a message that people can visualize, can put right in front of them, and stick to it. Like my campaign slogan, all my yard signs, everything. Fixing roads, feeding kids. So Danica, what are you doing? I'm fixing roads and feeding kids. What do you feel about this? I'm going to fix roads and feed kids. How are you going to fix roads and feed kids? Get a lot of money for innovative intersection designs. We're going to have universal breakfast and lunch for every single kid. Okay? These are specific things. When I was in journalism school, my professor would say, that's vague. Be specific. And this is like, you know what I'm talking about when I say protect our land. What do you mean protect our land? I mean, fight data center sprawl. What do you mean fight data center sprawl? I mean, they shouldn't be here. And the ones that are here, we should tax them into oblivion. And then they keep setting up these transmission lines that go right through people's communities and our environment and stuff. And we're the ones who end up having to pay for them because Dominion Energy gets cost recovery from it. And the data center industry, which is a multi-trillion-dollar industry, gets over $900 million in tax breaks to be able to do this to us in the first place from the state government. Yeah, I don't think they should get tax breaks from the state. I don't. These are all things you can visualize, that you can communicate with, and they're not vague platitudes.
No, they're not.
And this is a very technical term, so I might have to spell it out for you, of bullshit. They are real deal issues that affect your pocketbook, affect your quality of life, affect your commute. That's it.
Now, you and I have talked before, so you know probably where I'm going with this, but I get tired of seeing Democrats allow Republicans to frame the narrative, and they respond within the frame. So, for example, with transgender stuff, of which you're acutely aware, the Republicans will frame it. The Democrats will argue within the argument that the Republicans have set, never once saying, what the hell are we talking about this for when we should be talking about roads?
Brian, no, we try. The Democratic Party tries deflection. They do try doing this. Okay. They're
not very good at it.
No, this is the problem. The Republicans put hundreds of millions of dollars in their entire echo chamber into pushing out a narrative and getting people to believe that narrative, setting that narrative as the standard, as the equilibrium, the 50-50 part. And did you see in 2024, Democrats spending $250 million having trans kids and parents of trans kids and trans adults telling their stories nationwide in broadcast television ads and digital ads and the rest? No. But what worked with marriage equality? What worked in 2012 when 4 states approved marriage equality that year, including Maine, which had voted against it previously? It was gay couples telling their stories door to door and in advertising and humanizing their existence. But the thing is, there's a lot more gay people, lesbian people, bisexual people than there are trans people. Right.
And
And so because of that, more people know someone who is. And when you're more likely to know someone from the community because they're part of your family, they're one of your friends, they're yourself, whatever, then you're more likely to support their civil rights. People who know a trans person are more likely by the data to support our civil rights. And so for the Democratic Party at the 2024 National Convention in Chicago, you and I were both there.
yes, we
And did
were.
we see a single trans speaker? Or for the same matter, by the way, of note, did you see a single Palestinian speaker on stage
No,
that whole day? No,
no.
or like the convention.
I
Even
saw I
though
saw some Republicans.
we did, we sure did, didn't we?
I
But
saw a lot of, but that didn't work, did it?
That's the thing. They had Sarah McBride running for Congress in a seat that she was absolutely going to win. They could have brought her up. They just like they did in 2016. They could have brought her on stage.
Yeah,
And they didn't have like for a Palestinian person, they didn't have to have someone who you were just going to be labeled with, whatever extremist like point of view whatever. That person could have just said like, "Hey, look, I think the attack on October 7th, 2023 that Hamas committed against Israeli citizens was the definition of evil and horrible, and it should never be like this. And at the same time, right now, I'm also concerned about my family getting killed. People who aren't hurting anyone, people, moms with like babies. Let's talk about how we can get to peace, how we can coexist and live together. If we had that representation on stage where you can have interfaith dialogue between Jewish people and Muslim people, and you can have trans people staying on stage with straight people and non-trans people and whoever else, then you can say all of us are part of America, all of us are Americans, all of us have a voice that matters, and in a supposedly big tent party all of us have something to say, and all of us need our civil rights respected, and we need to respect each other and try to find common ground.
beautiful
Like,
message.
it would have been great. Instead, oh, well, your existence doesn't poll well for us, and so we're going to stay very far away from that. I
See, that's
just,
playing into the Republican, narrative again. You fall within the Republican narrative, and then you argue within it. I just it pisses me off. So, all right, final thought because I know
yeah.
you've got places to go. What's the road path? What's the path to victory in 2026 for the Democrats nationwide?
Okay,
What
well,
did you
there's
learn from this
two,
past election?
well, all right, there's going to be two different paths because Prop 50 happening in California, that's going to be a path because they're going to offset Texas. Here's the thing. When the Trump administration decided that they were going to very publicly, partisanly tell red states, we want you to gerrymander Democrats out of existence from Congress because we don't want to lose the midterms. And one after the next, after the next, after the next, fell in line and did it. From Texas to North Carolina, you're seeing the pressure happening in Indiana. They're pressuring it for
In
Kansas. They're pressuring
Ohio,
it for Nebraska, Ohio, one after the next, after the next. And Florida wants to do it too, by the way. They're even looking at eliminating all Democrats in Florida. Like
yeah.
if they get their way, if the Voting Rights Act gets gutted and they do this, then what's going to happen in Virginia? In Virginia, we're going to say, you know what? We have a bipartisan commission. I'm not a fan of it. I like pure independence. I don't think legislators should be picking their
Right.
constituents in general. However, when we are seeing them taking out Democratic seats like Don Davis in North Carolina, and we're seeing this across the Commonwealth or
But
across
is
the
there?
country, then
But
we're
wait a
going to
minute. Wait a minute.
respond in kind, even though it's a race to the bottom. We don't
Yeah.
want this. We don't. But this is are we going to be like, well, we are very principled. When they go low, we go high. That didn't work. And so now we're going to say, if you do this to us, we're going to do this to you. Okay, you did it to us, we're doing it to you.
But is
But
there any
you shouldn't.
guarantee? Is there any guarantee that these gerrymandered districts, because I'm looking at some of them in
Oh,
Texas,
Brian,
there's
Brian,
no guarantee that they're
let's
going
talk
to
about
go
Texas.
Republican.
Let's talk about Texas and bring it into Virginia. Okay.
Yeah.
We just saw Latino voters revolt against the Republican nominees this year. Look in the most Latino heavy precincts, including in my district, and you will see huge 70-80% margins coming up. The Republicans are basing their Texas gerrymander around the idea that Latino voters are going to be there for them like they were for Trump in 2024.
Meanwhile, you got
Texas,
ICE kicking people out of the country.
right,
It's not going to
Brian,
work. I'm telling
Brian,
you, it's
you
not a
know South
guarantee.
Texas better than
Yes,
most
I do.
people who deal with politics. You tell me that if you attack Latino people's families, their incomes, their jobs, their sense of security, and their sense of belonging as Americans, that's not going to have a significant backlash when the time comes.
I think you're going to have a significant backlash in talking with representatives from the Latino community in South Texas. I can tell you there's a shitload of people, but it's not just there. The gerrymandering, Americans, I'm been 40 years reporting, so I'm going to show my bias here in
More than 40
traveling.
now, bud.
I'm an old fart, but traveling around the country, Americans are not as mean spirited as the Republican Party. And in fact, there are Republicans I know that don't like gerrymandering because they feel like it's rigging the game, and no one likes to be rigged. And when you know you're being yanked by the chain, there's Hispanic voters that I think will abandon the Republican Party. There are white voters who are white conservative voters who will abandon them. If
Look,
you
Barbara
have
Comstock did in Virginia.
yes,
Yeah,
and when
there
you
you go.
have when you have a centrist Democrat, my concern is that Democrats are always pushing too far to the left for the majority of America, and where my particular interests lie, is probably more progressive than any Republican or conservative Democrats. But if you just present a centrist candidate in the Democratic Party, I think even in the gerrymandered districts, if you can find the appropriate candidate, they'll win because
Well, now,
people
Brian,
do
look,
not like being jerked around.
Brian, as executive director of Merge, I want to see a Democratic woman elected president badly.
Yes.
And if you nominate someone like Andy Bashir, I think he wins in 2028. Like I think there are people in the Democratic Party who also can have who have appeal across lines, right?
Yeah.
Like there's just, and by the way, it's not an endorsement for the record.
Yeah, I understand. Well,
Not endorsement,
I know the
but
Bashirs. I mean, I remember him
yeah,
when he
and
was a
that's
baby.
I wanted to bring that him up to you specifically because like for your listeners, your viewers, Brian, you're from Louisville, land of Muhammad
Louisville,
Ali.
you got it pronounced right, so you're good.
I know. I learned from you, Dad. I learned it from you. So, like you've known his family since he was a kid, right?
Right.
And you've seen the Bashir style of politics be a style of politics that cuts across party lines very, very often. He's not the only one who's capable of that. There are
No, he's
plenty
not.
of others. Look at the margins that Wes Moore ran up, by the way, right? When he was elected
Right.
governor, flipped his seat red to blue, and Larry Hogan wouldn't even endorse the Republican candidate in that race.
Right.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah, you and I covered Larry. He's not a Trumper.
No. So although then Trump knew he wasn't a Trumper, and so then Trump, just to stick it to him, endorsed him just so that he would lose.
Well, I think that's why he endorsed Cuomo. I think that's exactly why Trump endorsed Cuomo in New York.
Right.
Because the people on the fence are going, well, screw that.
It's like
the kiss of death.
It was just like, I mean, talk about your I don't think his internal political consultants would have supported that move unless they were like, yeah, go ahead and sink them. Or he just went rogue and said that, which is quite possible. And then his team was just like,
I think it was done as a stratagem, and it wasn't by Donald. Somebody told Donald to say it. Donald goes, I know him. I like him. Sure, I'll say it. I'm sure they wanted to sink Cuomo any chance Cuomo had so that they would have a viable enemy. They wanted to make sure that Mamdani was there so they could have a viable enemy, because Donald Trump needs enemies. He's got to invent them. He's got to have them. That's his whole raison d'etre. is to fight it's like the impossible dream to fight the unfightable foe. And but he's he's not the windmill and he's not Don Quixote.
No. It's good way to put it. All right. Hey, I got to roll here,
Yeah.
but
All right.
Brian, always good
Last
to see you.
question for you
Yeah.
before you go. Hope, what's you seeing things better for 2026, or are we eternally screwed
Oh,
because of
no,
Donnie?
I think, well, from now until election day 2026, I still think there's going to be a lot of very hurtful, painful, regressive policies coming out from the Trump administration that are going to single out and stigmatize the very people he's elected to serve in the first place. I think there's no end in sight right now for the government shutdown. I think there's a lot of pain that a lot of Americans are going to experience between now and election day and that of next year, and that politicians who are elected to serve these folks need to understand that the world is not just a series of elections. There's a lot of people hurting right now who need help. I was at one of my local food banks recently handing out a bunch of bags, food, and the stack of first-time applications that were coming in was just heartbreaking. And I mean, one of my food banks has had a 5,000% increase in applications from first-time people coming in needing help.
And no SNAP benefits.
5,000%. This is real deal shit right now, and we can't just be like, oh, wait till the midterms. No, people need help right now, and it is incumbent on us to use whatever power and leverage that we have to help people.
With that said, Danica, it's always a pleasure. You know I love you, and God bless you. And you're one of the few that I really feel is there for the right reason, and
Well, Brian,
I appreciate you. So I want to thank Danica for being with us. This is Just Ask the Question. I am your host, Brian Karem, and we'll catch you next time.